So the biggest mistakes I made with my fitness business starting out. So I just want to share my experience. Obviously, we now have a fitness business with 9 members of staff, and it's forever growing as we move into our 8th year in the coaching industry. And I feel a duty of care to share my experience to help people who follow my pages, whether that's the mentor page, the Jay's page, or the YouTube, understand and come across sort of what were my mistakes so you don't make them. I feel like when you get into a position, it is your duty of care to look after those that were in the position you were in, because again, if I had someone I could learn from, maybe I wouldn't have made the mistake. So the biggest mistakes I made with my business starting out. The first one is probably having no clear pathway. And what do I mean by that is having no pathway in terms of my route to market, who I want to market with. And what do I mean by who I want to market with is who I want to work with. And a lot of people say, yeah, great, you want to work with your niche. How do you find your niche? Essentially, you create it. So when you have no pathway and you're unsure who you want to work with, what you need to do is find your niche. And if you're unsure what your niche is, you create it. So essentially, putting out content aligned to who I want to work with, creating my niche. So no clear pathway didn't allow me to know who I wanted to market to. Not having a niche, again, didn't allow me to have a content strategy that I could put in place to align and create content that resonates with my niche. So you're starting to get the drift here. So if in the early parts of my career, I was very clear on my pathway, I was very clear on my niche, and I hit a content strategy coming out the blocks that sort of resonated with my niche, we would have grown at a much quicker rate. And when you start coaching, you there's a saying I say, if you help everyone, you help no one. You just think, sweet, I'm gonna put out fitness content, it's gonna align to everyone, so many people are gonna be inquiring. No, emotional buy-in, direct content to the content consumer on your page. So a clear pathway with a niche is gonna allow you to create a content strategy which aligns content to that niche, to that target market, and that gives you a clear pathway of how to attack the market there. And what else comes off the back of having a clear pathway and understanding your brand vision? It builds a deed of trust, because when you put out content, your message is going to be far more superior and far more consistent because you've been following a structure. So just briefly, if anyone is struggling with a content schedule, and this is just gonna help, I always say every company should have 3 pillars: educational, message, professional message, and personal message. So let's say you've got your niche, but you're unsure how to hit your audience. I would say, look at your niche. What is the professional message you want to put across, whether that's client testimonials, social proof showing that you can professionally deliver a service? What is the educational message you're trying to put across? What do you want to educate your niche with? And then again, your personal message. What message do you want to get across to your niche that these are your personal beliefs? So if you are struggling, I would write a 3-day-a-week content schedule. Monday, your personal message. Wednesday, professional message, whether that's social proof, testimonials, XYZ. And then on the Friday, I'd have the educational message. So that's a very simple tip if anyone's struggling there with their pathway. And then once they find it, how to align content to sort of set you up for generating as much leads as possible. What else do we look for is company values, because this also links back to pathway, because essentially, like I said, you come into this game and if you think you can help everyone, you help no one. But if we have company values of who you're going to help directly, for example, if I am a lifestyle coach, I'm never going to take on a competitor because it's out my company values, because again, that is someone that I don't believe I can truly help. Obviously, when you start coaching, you do a lot of things, and essentially, when you start business, you say yes more times than you say no. And now I probably say no more times than I say yes. But you have to say yes to the things that align with your company values. So a better example, let's not use competitors. If you are not confident in writing a vegan diet and someone inquires of you to write a vegan diet, probably don't take on that client. Why? Because you're not sticking to your true values. And if you don't do that, you're probably not going to deliver the best service. And again, if you don't deliver the best service, probably not going to get the best referral, probably not going to get the best result. And again, like I said, brands are built from a deed of trust, and all brands stand the test of time when it comes to delivering results. So company values as well is one of the biggest things, and sticking to the company values. In my business now, I have things I'm willing to do and things I'm not willing to do, methods I don't agree with, methods I agree with, and that allows me to navigate and sort of vet who I want to work with. So that definitely helps. So we've covered clear pathway, we've covered company values. I also say here, moving into this, when I sort of look at this, is when I started the business, I had no time management and no priority hours. And what do I mean by that? So right now I have a Google Calendar that is non-negotiable, and it's probably made me the most productive which I've ever been in my life. So if I go on that calendar, I've got priority hours now, which are work block hours. When I first had 30, 40 clients, I was like, yeah, I just pick up my phone, do a few WhatsApps, put it down, check in when you want. And, now the business runs of set working hours. One, why do I always start my work in the morning? It's my productive hours. It's where I am most productive. It's when my mind works best. And again, it's allowed me to have set working hours, and it's allowed me to get a better crop of clientele that sort of follow the procedure. If they follow the procedure, they check in on time, they get me at the best version of myself when I'm most productive in the AM, and it allows them to get the best deliverable service from myself, which leads to the best result, best social proof, best route to market. So it all goes hand in hand. And again, with that, no priority hours. For example, content, what I'm doing now. In my time management structure now, we have a content creators block, and that's where I am now, is creating content for my businesses. And that comes by having a schedule, time management, and priority hours in the business. So how does mine look now? Let me break down my business. I wake up at 7 a.m. I do my KPIs. So I might check what new followers we got. I might check who's messaged us in DM. I might check, how many leads we've had this week. So we update daily KPIs. Once the KPIs are done, what I would tend to do is do a work block, check-ins 7 till 12, going over the check-ins within that day. On the back end of that, what I would do is go through secondary replies later in the day. On the back end of that, I would have a creators block where I jot down ideas of things which have come to my mind in that day. That would be a typical Monday for me. But that just becomes because I've got priority hours and I've got time management, which is working very well. And that's why I managed to run multiple businesses at once. So one of the biggest things I had an issue with was my time management. Just wake up, do a few check-ins. Yeah, I might film some reels this week. I might not. Don't be lazy with your business. Treat it like a professional business and not a leisure business. That is one of the key things I advise you to do. So I had no clear pathway. I had company values within myself, but they weren't clear. So, that also had a bit of a hindrance there. Time management is something which we fix now. Priority hours within your business. So make sure you've got priority hours. Make sure your time management is nailed to the T. Make sure you got company values. Make sure you got a clear pathway. And also, what was another issue when I started out? I had no back-end tracking. What is back-end tracking? If you're running a business, you should know averagely how many leads you get per week, how many of them leads are closed, and how many of them need retargeting. No back-end business does not allow you to do that. So there's some great CRMs out there which will help you track absolutely everything. Systemize to Scale is one we use. I know who inquires. I know who inquires and books on a call. I know who inquires and doesn't show up on a call. And I know if they don't show up on a call, we're going to retarget them to try and rebook them in for a call or find the issue why they couldn't get on the call. So again, we've got a back-end system in place that allows no leads or money to leave the table. But what was happening is with no back end, I'd have a lead come in this week, I'd have none next week, and I wouldn't be able to identify the problem. Why? For example, if we're turning out content, we do our content blocks in month by month, and one month we've got loads of leads and coming through, we look at that and say, all right, that might be aligned to the content and look at that issue. But if we're not tracking the amount of leads that are coming in, we can't fix the problem of why potentially we're getting lower leads the following month. So back-end systems are important just for tracking for yourself. How many clients have you got? Company expenses. How much are you spending on videographers? How much are you spending on graphics? How much are you spending on outsource upskilling education? Profit and loss of the business. Check-in sheets. How many clients have you got checking in on set days? Your work hours, your calendars. So there's so many things to the back end that you need to do. Using Stripe automated payment systems. So many coaches I know, I'm not even sure how to take payment systems and payments professionally. So we're sort of looking at creating back-end structure that is sustainable long-term, that's going to help you scale You know, if you know how much money your business is generating each month because it's automated on Stripe, you know how much you've got to invest. You know how much is reoccurring income. You know how much is on upfront income. So back-end tracking is important to grow the business. This is important, just as important as having a pathway, just as important as clear values, just as important as time management, just as important as priority hours. But what else is also important here that a lot of coaches don't do, and the biggest mistake I made with my coaching brand, I didn't do it at the very start, is further education. For 2 years, I didn't spend a penny on education. I didn't attend seminars. I didn't have mentors. Then 2 years later, I attended as many seminars as I could. I shadowed people and worked for free, and I invested in a mentor, and I invested in marketing, knowing and understanding my field, tonality, how to speak to my customers, what they like to see, how the social media works. So one of the biggest things that I would say to take home from today, and things you need to put in place, is have a clear pathway and know who you want to help. Have priority hours in your business and put a lot of time into upskilling your education. So those are some of the biggest mistakes I've made, which I've managed to turn around. And now we've got a thriving, flourishing business.